Number 1, what is the slope of the line y equals negative 3x plus 1? Remember that whenever you're dealing with slope, you're dealing with the slope-intercept form y equals mx plus b. Now, when you're dealing with that, the number that is in front of x, the coefficient of x, is the slope. That is in relation to the letter m. So if you look right in front of the x, the m is going to be negative 3. It says, what is the slope of a line that is parallel to this? Well, parallel lines have the exact same slope. So if m is going to be negative 3 for this line, then m has to be negative 3 for a parallel line. It says, what is the slope of the line perpendicular to this? For perpendicular slopes, you need the opposite reciprocal slope. So opposite of this negative 3 is going to be a positive number. The reciprocal of 3, well, let's look at 3. 3 can be written as 3 over 1. And if it's a negative slope, that's the slope we're looking at. So if you're doing the opposite, it means we're positive. The reciprocal means we flip the fraction, so it's positive 1/3 for that slope. Number 2 says, what is the slope of the line that's perpendicular to y equals 2/3 x plus 8? Remember the number, the coefficient of x is going to be the slope we're looking at. So right now we're dealing with a slope of 2/3. If it was parallel, it would be the same, but this is perpendicular. So we need it to be opposite. So the opposite of this positive number is going to be a negative, and the reciprocal means we're going to flip this. So it's going to be negative 3/2. So that would be our final answer for number 2. Number 3 says, provide an equation for a perpendicular to the line of y equals 4/5 x plus 4. So we're looking at the slope here of 4/5. Now to make it perpendicular, we want it to become opposite. So opposite of that positive is a negative, and we want the reciprocal, so we're going to flip this fraction, so 5/4. So now if we're going to write the equation of a line that's perpendicular to this, we need it to have this slope, so let's plug it into y equals mx plus b. So y equals negative 4/5 x, and then it can be whatever y-intercept you want. You can leave it as this one here, which is 0, or you could put minus 100, plus 10,000, plus 2.4. It's whatever you want, as long as your slope is negative 5/4, because it needs to be opposite and reciprocal to that line. So this is going to be my example problem right here. Number 4 says, write the equation for a line that passes through the points 2, 5, and negative 2, 4. So we're going to eventually make our way to y equals mx plus b. But the first thing we need to know is what the m is. M means we're going to have to use a slope formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So to do that, we want to label this as x and y, and this is x and y. Since this is the first ordered pair, that's going to be x1, y1. Since this is the second ordered pair, that's going to be x2, y2. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug it into this formula here. So my slope, I always like to put the fraction bar with the 2 subtraction signs, so now I can just plug in my y2, which is 4, minus my y1 here, which is 5, over my x2, which is negative 2, minus my x1, which is 2, and now we clean this up. So 4 minus 5 is negative 1, and then negative 2 minus 2 is negative 4, so negative 1 over negative 4 is positive 1/4. So that is going to be my slope for this equation here. Now, to get the b, we need to go back to y equals mx plus b, and we need to just pick one of these points. I'm going to pick the one that's positive just because it's easier to work with, but you can actually work with either ordered pair. So I'm going to go ahead and say that this is my x is 2, my y is 5. So if my y is 5, I just found my slope to be 1/4 times my x, which in this point is going to be 2, plus b. Now all I have to do is solve for b. So 2 times 1/4 is 2/4, which is also a half. So then here I have 5 equals 1/2 plus b. So to solve for b, I'm going to subtract 1/2 from both sides. 5 minus 1/2 is going to be 4.5, or 4.5, so that's my b. So my final answer here, I'm going to use this slope and this b, and I'm going to plug it into y equals mx plus b, this equation. So y equals 1/4 x plus 4.5, or if you want, you could say this is 0.25x. So I'm going to show you that real quickly up here. Y equals 0.25x plus 4.5. And the reason I changed it to this particular equation, let me show you right there. The reason I changed it to this particular equation is because you usually want to have it in decimal form or fraction form, but not really both fractions and decimals. That's not the best form to use.